Good evening, and welcome to the New York Immigration Coalition's Road to Recovery video series. My name is Nora Melendez, and I am the Immigrant Services Support Events Associate at the NYC, and I will be your host. Today, we'll be hearing from Vanessa Luna, the co-founder and chief program officer at ImmSchools, and Diana Aragundi, a staff attorney on the Immigrant Students' Rights Project at Advocates for Children. We will be discussing the rights of immigrant students and their families in the digital space. I'd like to thank the New York City Council and Department of Youth and Community Development for sponsoring this Road to Recovery event. We appreciate your ongoing support. Now, I would like to welcome Diana from Advocates for Children and Vanessa from ImmSchools. Diana?
Hi, good evening. Thank you for inviting me, Nora. As Nora said, my name is Diana, and I am a staff attorney at Advocates for Children of New York. At AFC, we are dedicated exclusively to protecting every child's right to an education, focusing on students from low-income backgrounds who are struggling in school or experiencing school discrimination of any kind. I work on the Immigrant Students' Rights Project, working with immigrant students and their families to secure their right to learn in New York City.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vanessa Luna, and I am the co-founder and chief program officer of ImmSchools. We're an immigrant-led nonprofit that is seeking to transform schools to be safe and welcoming for our immigrant and undocumented students and families. I have the honor to work closely with immigrant and undocumented families inside of New York City public schools. I myself grew up undocumented here in New York. I went to college undocumented. I was a former DACA teacher and actually had DACA before being able to adjust my status. I am so excited to be here with you all today to talk about a topic that is super close to my heart and to make sure that we're supporting our immigrant community in our schools.
Thank you both for being here. So let's start at the beginning. What are my rights as a parent if my child is documented, but I am not?
It's really important to know that we have rights, all of us, regardless of immigration status. All students, regardless of their or their parents' immigration status, have a right to a K-12 education. This is not just here in New York, but this is at a national scale. No one can prevent you from registering your child to a school because you or they do not have a social security number. Staff at schools should not ask you about your immigration status. If they do, you can decline to comment. If you share your immigration status with someone that you trust at a school, this must remain confidential. In New York City, there are actually further protections, such as confidentiality, that your personal information will not be shared with any other agencies unless a judicial warrant is provided. In addition, Immigration Custom Enforcement, or what we know of as ICE, is not encouraged to enforce in schools. What that means is that they are set to be sensitive locations. Now, if ICE was to visit a New York City school, there's actually protocols in place to support this process and to ensure that our students are protected. ICE must wait outside of the school property while the principal views their paperwork. Only in the most dire of circumstances, when a warrant signed by a judge is provided, will they be let in. We encourage our parents to do the following, right? And I know that this is difficult. We recommend continuously updating your contact information with the school to ensure that there's an emergency contact in case of any emergency, not just in relation to immigration. We encourage you to have that conversation with you and your family so that they know who the emergency contact is. We also encourage you to keep asking questions and to share your concerns regardless of your status at your school. Many parents feel a sense of discomfort. And so it's really, really important that they know that regardless of immigration status, they should continue to ask questions and have the resources that they need. When you feel comfortable having conversations with your family around immigration status, please ensure that you do so, because it is difficult for students in their senior year to learn about their status. It is best to have these conversations as a family or within a safe space rather than hearing misinformation from others. And I know that this conversation can be difficult from personal experience, but it is not damaging, right? Our immigration status is a part of our lives. We are human beings with or without papers. So it could actually be also really restorative and critical so that we have the resources that we need to succeed within, outside of our school, and beyond. As I mentioned, we're more than our immigration status, and you have the same rights as other parents to engage in your child's schooling.
Now that we've shifted into the remote learning space, have any of these rights changed?
Yeah, that's a really great question. None of it has changed because of the remote learning context. It's also important to know that here in New York City, all of the resources, such as, for example, the food that has been provided, the iPads that have been provided, all of them are granted to you and your students, regardless of immigration status. So none of these supports are linked to any potential impact of you in the future accessing or adjusting your status. And so it is really important that you understand that these are supports that are provided by the city, by the school, by your district that you're working in. Therefore, we highly recommend that you take advantage of them.
One of the biggest concerns that we've been hearing is that some parents have children who are still learning English and don't understand the material. So what is available for them to be able to support their children through this?
So English language learners, or ELLs for short, are students that are identified by the Department of Education as requiring school support to learn English. If your child has been identified as an ELL and is struggling with school, there could be several reasons for your child's difficulties. One of the questions we often ask is the child having an issue with language access, or is it the material that they're having issues comprehending? We always advise parents to speak with their child's teacher first to get a sense of how they're progressing in school. If your child isn't making academic progress in school, you can request an initial special education evaluation, even now during COVID times, to determine if they require more support in school. If it's an issue about language access, you can also request the school to provide you with more support.
And if I don't speak English, how can I access those resources to help my child in the digital space?
The New York City Department of Education's website does have a Google Translate tab on the main page that will translate the site into your language. You can go to schools.nyc.gov and click on the Select a Language tab, and there are a multitude of languages, and you can read the documents, access the website, look up enrollment procedures, blended learning, and get a lot of information through the website. But if you are looking for more support, there is also New York Schools account, or NYCSA. And NYCSA is the account that gives you access to your child's attendance, report cards, grades, and other important documents all in one place. So for a lot of our parents, they're not able to go to school and get this information in person. So if they set up a NYCSA account, which they can set up online, they can look at the documents that they need to know about their child's education. There is also tutoring support for students. You can call Dial a Teacher for students K through 12, Monday through Thursday, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. throughout the school year. Parents can also use BrainFuse. It's a tutoring program with the New York Public Library, and they have materials in English and Spanish for early elementary to high school students in core subject areas.
Thank you. And now also with the shift into the digital space, that need for a device has also increased. So if my child does not have a tablet or a computer and we do not have access to internet, how are they meant to participate in remote learning?
Just want to reiterate that the supports that the district are providing are not tied to immigration status once again. So what Diana and I will talk about, I think it's important to highlight that if parents need that support in relation to a tablet or an iPad, they should be asking for it. This is an ongoing area of growth, right? And so I do want to name that. From what we know, the New York City Department of Education has granted internet-enabled iPads for students within the DOE. Now, we recommend connecting with your school directly and asking them to ensure a request has been sent to you to receive an iPad. This process has changed continuously. I want to be really transparent. It also is really important to have that NYCHA account, because that will also really help in just getting, any announcements and the ongoing changes that I think we foresee coming.
Like Vanessa said, there has been a lot of movement, a lot of change. I'm hopeful that after almost a year of remote learning, the number of families without devices is limited. And as Vanessa said, the first step is now to reach out to your child's school. Previously, families were filling a remote technology survey form online or by phone, and the process was happening centrally, and the schools would be contacted by the DOE. But now the guidance is that you are reaching out directly to your child's school. Schools also have their own devices. They have devices, they have tablets, they have Chromebooks, depending on availability and the need, they will share these devices with families. So you should speak with your school's parent coordinator for assistance. But during the time you're waiting for a device, you can also request homework packets so that your child can have work to do and that they can engage in learning while they wait for the device. And if you're experiencing an issue with your DOE device and it's not working, please contact your child's school and request assistance. We're finding that a lot of families are having issues with devices not working, not downloading the correct connection so that they can actually engage in remote learning. So you can contact your child's school, they can contact the technical support team and troubleshoot with the device or give you another device as well. If you continue to have difficulties after you've reached out to your child's school and the DOE, please feel free to reach out to us at our helpline. We are happy to help.
So if I have to work full time, right, to provide for my family, and I rely on my older children to support their younger siblings, how can I make sure they're both getting the support they need within the remote learning space?
It's definitely a very difficult issue many of our immigrant working parents face. For families that are participating in blended learning, meaning the student goes to school 2 or 3 days out of the week and engage in remote learning the other 2 days, Learning Bridges provides childcare options for children from 3K, that's before pre-K, through 8th grade on days when they're scheduled for remote learning. This may provide some support and assistance for families that have to work outside the home. You can call 311 for assistance completing the online application. Currently, it's only available, like I said, for families enrolled in blended learning. We always encourage parents to attend, even virtually, parent-teacher conferences to discuss how their children are doing. And you can ask if your child is on grade level. Are they completing the assignments on time? If your child needs more academic support, ask if your child's school can provide it. Is there a reading program that they can provide? Remember, you have the right to translation and interpretation services in your language during parent-teacher conferences or any meetings in school. Just make sure that you make your request with sufficient time so that one can be provided.
Where should community members go if they have more questions?
You could email me directly if you have more questions. So Vanessa@ImmSchools.org. You could also email our ImmSchools email, which is just admin, admin@ImmSchools.org. And you can also visit our website. As I only highlighted the student hub, but we have an educator hub, we have a family hub, and we have the educator one. And we have different content around knowing your rights, college access. We also have mental health supports and ways to alleviate stress and focus on cultural responsive teaching.
If you want to reach out to Advocates for Children, if you have a question, you can ask to speak with an advocate. Please feel free to call our helpline Monday through Thursday between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. at 866-427-6033. You can definitely call at any other time, but it'll be a voicemail, so you can leave a message. You can call in any language and someone will help you. They can answer a broad range of school-related questions, provide you with guides and fact sheets about different issues concerning immigrant families. Feel free to give us a call.
Thank you both. So our first question is, if I don't feel like I'm getting the support I need from my school, where can I go?
I think especially because of COVID, a lot of families feel that way. If you are feeling that you're not getting support from your school and you've spoken with the teacher and the parent coordinator, my next suggestion would be to try to bring it up the chain and speak to an administrator at the school, whether it's an assistant principal or a principal. If you don't feel like you're getting enough support, you can go out, outside of the school and speak with the superintendent or someone in the field support. You can call the DOE and ask for more support. Generally, we talk to families about calling 311, and you can ask for support, who is your local borough support manager, and get more support. Try to be as specific as possible when you're speaking to your school. Try to get things in writing if you can. We always encourage families, if they can, to document their efforts, because especially if you're going to speak outside of the school and talk to a superintendent's office, you want to make sure that you show how, in good faith, like how many times you reached out.
I would just say, once again, just reminding folks that you asking questions or elevating concerns does not have anything to do with your immigration status. And I know I've heard from families multiple times that they're kind of hesitant, they don't want to bother anyone. And so it's really, really important that you are asking questions, advocating for yourself. And I think those steps are the right way to go. The only thing that just came up to my mind is also thinking about parent leaders in your district. So there are parent leaders, especially through different types of networks within the district that you're in, that you can reach out to. And that's one of their prime, I would say, jobs and roles, is for them to engage with you and to elevate any other concerns. So if, for example, you have a little bit of hesitation of doing that on your own, connecting with a parent leader in your school or district can potentially support you as you go through that process.
Yes, I definitely think there's a lot of fear when it comes to like drawing attention to yourselves. So who should parents be reaching out to arrange interpretation?
Schools should be reaching out to families to schedule a parent-teacher conference. So generally, there are 4 parent-teacher conferences throughout the school year, like every quarter. With COVID, things have really kind of gone out of whack, but parent-teacher conferences are still happening. You can go onto the DOE's website, schools.nyc.gov, to see the schedule for parent-teacher conferences. You can also reach out to your child's teacher and ask when the next parent-teacher conference is going to be. When your child's school reaches out to you to schedule it, most likely it's going to be a phone call or a Teams meeting. That's the platform that a lot of schools are using. You can ask for an interpreter during that conversation. If you get a letter or you don't speak to someone, you can make that request. You can call your child's school. You can say, I have a parent-teacher conference for Friday. I'm requesting Spanish interpreter or a Arabic interpreter. You have a right to translation and interpretation services. So regardless, again, of immigration status, you have a right to accurate and good interpretation. So if someone is not providing you with accurate interpretation or you don't understand what's happening, again, you have a right to ask for interpretation services. You can also call the translation and interpretation DOE phone number if having an issue getting these services at your child's school. The phone number is 718-935-2013, or you can email them at hello@schools.nyc.gov.
Another question we have is, if I'm detained while my child is in school, what happens to my child?
So I think this is why I mentioned a little bit of having an emergency plan, or what we call family preparedness. And there's different organizations that can potentially support in that. It is really, really important that we always have a plan in place for any type of emergency. I think if anything, COVID has shown us, right, that things happen that are out of our control. And so while this is specifically potentially for somebody who may be in the risk of deportation, I think this is applicable to everybody, is to have a plan. Now, with a family preparedness plan, you're able to essentially have really, really clear how is it that your student or your child will be supported in case there is an emergency, such as somebody potentially being detained, or if further implications happen, deported. And so it is really important to create a plan of action. It's important to have, and I know this is difficult, so I don't want to pretend like it's easy to have a conversation with your family around your immigration status, right? And especially if you have younger children. We understand that that's difficult, but it is important, and studies have shown time and time again that having a conversation within the family first actually promotes that sense of safety and support within the family context. And so I encourage you to have that conversation with your family if possible. Talk about preparedness as a way to protect each other, right? And have a plan in case of an emergency. Think about who could potentially be a legal guardian that can support your student or your child through a difficult time. And that can be added to the plan. And so this is why I also talked about the emergency contact piece. Because if something was to happen to you while your child is in school, that is what your school is going to look at. It's going to look at who is the emergency contact, and then they're going to reach out to them for your child to be picked up and to be supported. And so that is why it is so important to make sure that you're updating that routinely and are doing so in a way that, once again, is inclusive of everybody in your family, because you also don't want to put somebody down that your child does not have a relationship with, right? So that is also really, really important. And then I also highly, highly recommend thinking about, there's a lot going on around speaking about immigration. We don't know what's going to happen in the next administration, who's going to be eligible for what. And so there's a lot happening. I always encourage folks to potentially have a conversation with a lawyer. You could do so pro bono. I know that the New York Immigration Coalition also has a list of member orgs that provide that support. It is always great to go and have a conversation and have a screening. You never know what could potentially be available, and also speak to them about, you creating a plan of action. They also have some really, really great resources. It's from Immigration Advocates Network, and they have created essentially a plan that families can essentially, support and adopt, and then just go to the notary for support.
What are some tips for having that conversation with family?
Once again, this is a really difficult conversation. I think it's important to, also think about tools that you have to process trauma or take care of your own mental health and your own social emotional well-being, right? During this time and during those conversations. And so we have some toolkits and resources that we proactively share with families around mental health. And I think that is a really key component of that, right? Is not only having a conversation around, okay, this may happen, this is the worst case scenario, but what are we going to do to take care of ourselves and each other during this time, especially when anxiety may arise as a result of that conversation. So I really recommend, one, being really honest and having that conversation with your students and with your family. If there are resources that you know about or information that you know about, such as know your rights. I know that the New York Immigration Coalition has tons of resources on know your rights, such as what happens if immigration custom enforcement comes to your house, or you're walking in the street, and what are the things you can say, cannot say. So highly recommend potentially bringing that into the conversation, and also bringing about a plan. So, if X, Y, and Z happens, what is the plan? I think that's also really important to kind of ease the anxiety a little bit and provide those resources around our mental health and our well-being, especially during conversations that may spark a lot of anxiety.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that.
I want to echo what Vanessa has said, because I do think that, whether we're talking about immigration status or asking for support at a school, a lot of these conversations are very hard for our community to have. And so I think, we take out some of the stigma when we share with our family members or with our fellow community members, whatever, challenges we're experiencing. And we always ask families to ask for help. There's no shame in asking for help. There's no shame in asking questions. You have a right to know what's happening with your child's education. You have a right to be an involved participant in your child's education. And it doesn't matter if it's COVID or not COVID. Yes, things look a little different right now, but you are still a parent and you still have these rights, and you should feel comfortable and supported in exercising them. And if you need our support, our offices are open virtually to help you.
Thank you. Where can parents or students go to find mental health resources?
You could also visit our website. We have some resources on there around mental health. Immigrant. If you follow them on Instagram, or if you go to their website, they have, I believe right now, only in English and Spanish, but they have resources around mental health, and they even have exercises that have been created in partnership with one of our advisory board members, Germán Cadenas, who's a psychologist out in Lehigh University. And he was formerly undocumented, so it's been created by folks that have that lived experience as well. So I recommend looking into those, calling 311, maybe they may be able to connect you with that. I know that there's some city-specific resources that folks can access regardless of immigration status.
Correct. COVID has been a really challenging time for a lot of students. It's really been very stressful, right? To go from seeing your friends and your schoolmates and your teachers every day to being home. I know our communities have been really taxed with COVID and have seen a lot of trauma from family members being sick. And so I think that one of the things parents can seek is see if they can ask for mental health supports in school, whether it is appropriate for if your child feels comfortable speaking with a counselor at school. That might be something that will provide them with the support. If it ends up being that your child does not want to participate in counseling at school, you may want to see if your insurance provider has mental health supports virtually, whether it's through a phone call or through video. But yeah, we have seen a rise of students needing these types of supports. For some students, speaking to someone at school, speaking in a group counseling, speaking to other peers, whether it's through video, has been really helpful. If you need any more support, you can of course reach out to our advocacy through to our helpline, and we're happy to connect you to more supports.
Thank you both, and thank you everyone for all the wonderful questions you've asked and for starting these really important conversations. I want to thank you, Diana and Vanessa, again, and everyone for tuning in. If you have any more questions regarding remote learning, please check out our last video with our Manager of Education Policy, Andrea Ortiz, right here on Facebook. To stay involved with the New York Immigration Coalition, ImmSchools, and Advocates for Children, please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you again for joining us, ladies. Stay safe, take care, and enjoy your evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Well, take care.
Bye.